Oh gosh, that's an interesting question.
So, if all the major health insurance companies or pharmaceutical companies like United Health or Humana uh, approached you to sponsor your running, which company would you want to sign with?
Oh man, I'm not even a doctor yet, and I get texts, I get pictures. What's this weird rash on my arm?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. I am so glad you are here. Today is another interview. I'm currently just in Todd Father's office filming this, but the interview, of course, will be in front of the legendary Miracle Mile poster with John Landy and Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister, who was the first man to break 4 in the mile, and at the same time, he was in med school. And today I will be speaking with another runner who is in med school at the moment, Marty Hehir. Marty is the 7th fastest American marathoner of all time. He ran 2:08:59 at the Marathon Project back in December of 2020. He shares how he's able to stay productive and has time in his day to be able to run at such a high level, be in med school. He is soon going to be Dr. Hehir. Only a couple months he will be beginning his residency. And on top of that, he is a father of 2. He definitely has a unique story. And honestly, this is one of the most fun interviews I've done on Max Effort, Colin interviews with Parker Max, hosted by Parker Max. Inquiry of the episode, comment below, what was your dream job growing up when you were just a kid? So back in the day, when I was in preschool, I really enjoyed watching the garbage and recycling trucks, and I always wanted to drive the recycling truck. So I guess you could say that was my first dream job growing up. And then, everybody has the dream of being a professional athlete. But honestly, at the moment, I have no idea what I want to do with my life. But comment below, what was your first dream job? I really think it would be fun to share our first dream jobs in the comment section. So thank you so much for being here. This interview with Marty is a longer one, so I'll put timestamps below. And we talk about everything from high school to college, to professional, to being a doctor, and of course Taco Bell. But I really hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. So without further ado, here is my interview with Marty Hehir. Enjoy. Welcome to the show, Marty Hehir. The only reason I just said your last name there was because I wanted to prove to you that I knew how to say your last name.
You nailed it.
Yeah, I must imagine that gets butchered all the time.
All the time. I've heard it all. For 5 letters, you think, all right, 5 letters, anyone can get through it. But man, I've heard head hurts, Hehir, Hehir. People just imagine letters in it. So it's a fun time.
Yeah, you and Molly Seidel probably have the 2 most difficult American distance runner last names out there. So a lot of the runners who follow my channel are high schoolers. So I wanted to start at the beginning. So you're from Washingtonville, New York. And what sports did you grow up playing when you were a kid? And did you ever think that you would be running of all the sports?
I was a classic kid. I grew up, I played every sport for a little while. I started with soccer, the little baseball, hated baseball though, way too boring. They just put me in the outfield, hated it. And then I did some basketball for a few seasons, played football, won a little Pee Wee Super Bowl. So that was cool. But I was the running back, and I was, super scrawny, obviously. hated getting tackled, like obviously because it hurt. So that's why I was so fast. I credit my short football career for why I became fast, because I just wanted to run away from everyone trying to hurt me. And then it was really by like middle school, it was really just soccer, and like track. Like I started running, I ran like a local road race, and I knew I was like the fast kid in school. Like I was, so I was kind of doing track, indoor and outdoor track, and like the cross country, but then just like a bunch of soccer teams kind of in the background. So that was kind of the early days of doing a little bit of everything, and then really focusing on soccer and track.
So when did you first begin to enjoy running?
Oh, I enjoyed running right from the very beginning. I mean, again, I was the fast kid, right? So like, I had to live up to that reputation. So we had like a little fun pumpkin run, it was called, every year in October in the elementary school. That was always fun. I guess I was competitive and I enjoyed like trying to win, right? And then really like when I tried out for like varsity track in 7th grade. I didn't make it in 7th grade, but then in 8th grade I did. But I just loved running like the mile and watching that mile time come down. And then I started running the 2 mile in high school. And, so really right from the beginning, I really, success is different for everyone, but running is cool because, whatever time you run on your first time, then you just try to beat it. So that was really what kind of hooked me.
That's pretty impressive. Most runners usually don't like it at first. And then as they begin to run more and get into better shape, they enjoy to love the sport more. But do you remember your first track meet or cross country meet? And if so, what were your thoughts about it? And did you ever think that you would really be even where you were when you graduated high school?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have a hard time really pinpointing like my first like track or cross country race. I can pinpoint my first like race I ran that I really remember was our local Washingtonville 5K. Like that was kind of like the first real like race I did outside of like our little pumpkin run in elementary school. And that was the one where I like really got hooked, and I was like, I got a time. I ran a lot faster than I thought I would. And I thought that was really cool. And like, it was a fun experience. Like, I guess, like you said, I guess I'm a little unusual in that I didn't hate the experience of running, even when, you're out of shape and everything's burning, right? Legs, lungs, heart. But yeah, even when I was doing it, no, I never really thought long-term. I never would have thought, oh man, I'm going to be running through college and after college and trying, running championship races against, some of the best guys in the country. Like, no, I never thought about that. I just liked to do it. I was good at it. Right. And it was fun. So I think that's the most important part, especially in high school. Like, I mean, that was like my group of friends. I'm still friends with pretty much everyone on my team. Like those are my boys. So I love showing up every day and like hanging out with the guys. Going for runs was just like social time, right? Hanging out. So I think that was a big part of like why I liked running so much, was like the camaraderie as well.
Yeah.
So I really thought about the future too much.
I definitely agree. That is one of the best parts of running, just having fun with your teammates. But this pumpkin run you keep talking about, does it have anything to do with pumpkins?
Yeah. So it would be around Halloween time. So it was, I don't know if they still do it. I should find out. It was this arbitrary loop kind of like around the playground and soccer field of our elementary school. Like they always said it was a mile. I don't even think it was a mile. It was short, but who cares? But yeah, it was around Halloween time, and the prizes, first, second, and third place, got a pumpkin of like bigger size, So the first place pumpkin was really big, and the medium pumpkin and a small pumpkin. So pumpkins were involved.
That's kind of reminds me of this race that we have here in Iowa City. Every Thanksgiving, there's a trail race on Thanksgiving Day, and the winners of each age group category go home with a pumpkin pie instead of a trophy.
See, I respect that so much. I think more races should do more prizes like that. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm a little jaded, but like I'm over medals. Like medals are cool. I guess you can hang them up. But after, if you're really into running, you get a ton of medals. You're like, what's another medal? Like a pumpkin pie, like now we're talking. Like just give me something I could eat, something I can, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely agree. I have too many medals just in a shoebox. But could you please walk us through your high school training and racing progression?
Yeah. So high school, I had the same coach throughout high school, Coach White. And also with some input from Coach Jessup, had been like the coach for like 20 plus years before Coach White. And he would still be around. And he was great because he loved like doing a lot of analysis on like how fast we would run. We'd had one big workout. We ran the Oregon drill, we called it. I don't know if that's like a thing, but it was like a 2 mile, a mile, and an 800 with like kind of like a tempo jog in between. So like, we would do that work. That was like our benchmark workout every year we did that early season to see where we were at and if we were better than the year before, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, to break it down a little more general, like it was very much like a slow progression. Like I would say I was in like 7th and 8th grade, really just doing like 20 to 30 miles a week, if that, not really much running on the weekends. And just doing like we did a lot of like 200s and 400s. It was very classic, like track team workouts. I don't know, like stuff you see like 200s, 400s. We would occasionally do like some fartlek runs up on this like figure 8 loop. And those were the main workouts and like very short, like warm-ups and cool downs. We didn't really think much about it. Then in high school, as I got a little better, got like a little more serious about it. And the older guys on the team were great for like kind of showing, me as like a freshman and a sophomore, like what we're supposed to be doing as like a distance runner. So I would say the mileage bumped up to like 50 to 55 miles a week throughout the course of high school. Started doing like longer warm-ups and longer cool downs to get that mileage. And we still did roughly like the 2 workouts a week. And usually it was like, like a track workout of 10 by 400 was a classic, 20 by 200 and then some of those like little fartlek runs. So it was some combination of those, like pretty much 2 a week, and then usually like a race on the weekend, like wherever that was. And then we started incorporating like long runs, which at that time were really like in high school, the long runs were really somewhere between 10 to 12 miles, like just was good for us at the time. And yeah, that was it. And then that was kind of how the training went. The training didn't change much. We just like would run the workouts harder, right? We would run a little faster as we went. It's kind of a joke now between me and my old high school coach, because we didn't always see eye to eye, because I always like, man, we can work hard. Like, I want to do more miles. I wanted to do more. And he never really prescribed anything more. But yeah, I think he would agree, like his kind of motto was under training in a sense, so that we could still have really good growth and development when we got to college, which did tend to be the case. So I would say, like, compared to like what a lot of other nowadays you see like what every great high school runner is doing, and you want to do that. But we definitely we're not doing that at Washingtonville. We were just kind of doing like middle of the road. But yeah, and like the time progressions, I don't know if you want me to get into that, but that was kind of like a big part of why I loved running, was watching, I ran the mile and the 2 miles, like a distance runner pretty much from the beginning. So I think I broke 5 minutes for the first time. That was like the big goal in outdoors in 7th grade. Finally like cracked 5 minutes, ran like, I don't know, 4:58 or something. So that was really cool. And then just kind of watching that come down. I think I was like 4:45 in 8th grade, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in the high 4:30s in 9th grade. And my 2 mile kind of did like a similar thing. I didn't run the 2 mile until I think 9th grade in high school. I avoided that for a little while. Yeah.
And I know when you were in high school, you never won a state championship in track or cross country. But what would you say was your biggest achievement or biggest race when you were in high school?
Yeah, I'm very proud of that. I think people need to realize like you don't need to be the best in high school to still have a very long and like super successful career running. Like this sport is so like the longer you do it, just the better you get. So really just long-term consistency is going to trump like talent, quite often. So yes, I'm very proud, not proud. I wanted to win. Obviously I just wasn't good enough. But sorry, I just went on a tangent there and forgot the rest of your question.
What was your biggest achievement or biggest race that you had in high school?
Yeah, I would say I was very proud. Like my junior year, and I always loved cross country. I liked cross country more than track. And I was like pretty good as a junior, but we went to the NXN qualifier for New York, and I don't know why I didn't really have really high hopes of qualifying for nationals, but I remember like we didn't take it super seriously. I think we played like pickup football like a couple of days before, because it was always right after Thanksgiving. So I think we had like a traditional like pickup football game on after the turkey trot every year. Anyways, I ended up coming like really close to making nationals. I was only a couple spots off as a junior, and I was like, oh man, I should have taken this more seriously. And then so like I would say my biggest accomplishment was qualifying for NXN at the the New York regional qualifier, and then going on getting that really cool trip out to Oregon, and I finished 14th in the race. So that was something that was really special for me. I was the top New York guy. Kind of just did something really special that I don't think anyone expected me to like do anything like that. So it was cool to kind of get that really fun experience, get a lot of cool stuff, and do well in the race.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And of course, the merch that you get is always the best part. But yeah. Okay, so this next question, I'll try not to laugh too much, but I was looking at your Strava the other day, and you were in Washingtonville sometime. Mm-hmm. And I zoomed in on the map, and I noticed that there was a hill that was called Woodcock Hill. Mm-hmm. And is that like a big joke among high school kids?
A little bit. So the hill itself isn't anything special, but Woodcock Mountain Road is the name of the road. So you can imagine there was always a lot of jokes made when we were going out to run. Oh, what are we doing today? Oh, we're going to go ride on the woods, So yeah, plenty of jokes made running out on Woodcock Mountain Road. The hill itself wasn't anything. But yeah, that was one of our usual loops.
Okay. So now, a little more serious, but what was your college recruitment process like? And what ultimately led you to choose Syracuse?
So I did start getting I got some calls from a few places, not as many as you would think, which is fine. I was cool with that. I wasn't I didn't know much about like the running history of different schools. I wasn't like as into running as I obviously am now. So I didn't know a lot. But I got a few calls. I did official visits to like Columbia University. Like Ivy League stuff was very much exciting to me because, prestige of that. I was very into that. So I did visits to Columbia, Harvard. I visited University of Albany, SUNY Albany in New York. It's a state school. Georgetown was a place I like. Georgetown was one of the very few schools I knew there was like, that's a place you got to go to run, right? And like they had a huge running history. So I was very set on Georgetown, knowing nothing. And then my fifth visit, because you get 5, was to Syracuse. And you kind of just like, you get on the phone, you talk to these coaches for the first time. They kind of get to know you. They're asking you questions, and you're just like feeling them out. Going on the visits, I think, is super helpful. Like I think that was a really fun time to get to go on these visits for a day or two. Actually meet the team, spend the night wherever, and really get talk to the coach face to face. And I think that's a big part of how you kind of get your feels. Like I'm a pretty quiet. I think everyone's pretty quiet. You know, you're a young, like 17, 18-year-old kid, and these are all college kids. You don't know anyone. So I think everyone's usually pretty quiet. But, you know, so just did a lot of observing, and like you just kind of figure out like, you know, who kind of feels like your people. And you know, like I didn't feel like I jived well with a few of the coaches of those first few schools. But yeah, it was really a combination of Syracuse, like the coaches, I loved them. Like they were like super down to earth. They really said like, they just seemed a lot more honest and upfront than a lot of the other people. Like they're like, look, we're not the best team in the country right now. But like, you're someone who can help us get there. And I thought that was really cool because, you know, they're being honest, saying like, we're not the best. But B, they make you feel good because you're like, but you're good enough to like help us get there. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. I like that. And then there's also like a little bit of the game with financial aid and scholarship money that goes into some of the decision making. So there was like different offers from different programs and such. But so, you know, you kind of take that all together and you make the best decision that you can. That's like the best advice I can give. And for me, it was Syracuse. It was the best combination of, you know, school, finances, and like setting me up for my future.
So moving on to college, what was the change in training like for you from high school to college?
Big change. As I kind of hinted, like high school, you know, I thought I was working hard, but man, we were not working hard. You know, you go from your little small town high school team to like a D1 team. It was a big adjustment. And that's definitely something I like to tell people. Like I was getting my butt kicked. I couldn't even keep up with the other freshmen on the team in a lot of workouts. So that whole first cross country season, it was pretty traditional for us to just take a redshirt year. So we didn't compete. I mean, we still got to run a couple small races, but it was really just focused on training and like adapting. And man, I was getting my butt kicked. I couldn't keep up. I was like kind of bummed about it. I was like, man, this is tough. Like we didn't like, my mileage maybe went up from that 55 in high school to like 65 to 70. So it wasn't like this huge drastic change. It was mainly just the workouts got harder. And there's just like a lot of guys who are all really good. Right. So I think it's just a huge adjustment for like everyone to go to college. So it takes some time to figure out. But as I always say, you guys, you know, I stuck with it. And you know, as training does, your body adapts and you get better. And then by the indoor season, my freshman year, like I was running, you know, we ran the indoor 3K. So I was running like already way faster times than my outdoor, like 3,200 meter PR in high school. So it was pretty cool. As soon as I kind of saw that I was running, you know, my times were getting faster already and I was really starting to feel a lot better. You know, then it was just like, this is fun again. So let's keep it going. And then in college, it was very much a slow progression. Like every year I maybe started, like there was never like any deliberate changes, but just started doing a little more, adding a few more like 2-a-day runs in. The workouts got a little longer. The long runs got a little longer. And, you know, slowly kind of worked up from like 75 miles a week to 80. So like usually, no, really it was only like 85 to 90 was like my max by the end of my time in college.
So as a redshirt freshman, you ended up winning the Big East Conference cross-country championship. And like I said earlier, you hadn't won a state title in high school. So what was this experience like to win such a big race?
It was like, I was super confused at first because like, I was like, you know, a redshirt freshman. No one knew who I was. The first question I got in like the post-race interview was like, who are you? From Chris Chavez. And we joke about that now.
Right now, people are probably wondering, who are you? So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm from Washingtonville, Orange County. Yeah. I'm from Washingtonville, which is Orange County, right in New York, only an hour away from here. So a lot of my family is here, so it's like home field advantage.
So you were...
So like, it was a huge surprise. So at first I needed to like, be like, man, I just outkicked and won that race. And I think it took a few days to like really settle in, but at that point, I was like super excited. It was like super cool to win something like big and important. And then our team crushed it too. So like, we had the team winner, the individual winner. So for me, it was just like super fun getting to like be super happy and celebrate. And then like our team won too. So it was just like together, we were all just got to like be pretty pumped and excited. So yeah, it was definitely something for me that made me feel like, all right, like this running thing is going really well.
Yeah, I heard that interview that you did with Sidious Mag a couple months ago, and I highly recommend people go listen to it because your answer to "Who are you?" was pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
So in college, you were teammates with Justyn Knight, who is probably the most well-known teammate you had in college. 5,000 meter Canadian record holder and multi-time NCAA champion. So do you have any funny Justyn Knight stories while you were teammates in college?
Oh man. And we're still teammates now.
Yeah.
Reebok Boston Track Club now. So I get my full dose of Justyn Knight. Gosh, I mean, Justyn was just super funny all the time because he got a really late start in running. Like he didn't really start running until like his junior year in high school. Like towards the end of his like sophomore year, I think people realized, oh, like you're really good. You should be serious. And then, so he just didn't know a lot of things about the sport. He was very naive, and I would say most of his college career, he would just ask very like running naive questions, which would always make us laugh. And the one I remember the most was we were racing a 4x-mile at the Drake Relays. And the day before the race, we're just walking around town, and he just randomly asks, all right, guys, just quick question. How many laps are in a mile? Like the rest of us just looked at each other like, did he seriously just ask how many laps are in a mile? And we're like, what? Like it was the dumbest question we'd ever heard in our lives. And then he's like, oh, I'm Canadian. We have kilometers. I was like, no, don't give me that. Yes. So that always made us laugh. But I don't know. He's always just been like pretty funny kid. He's always thinking he's like the next best Carmelo Anthony, like basketball player, even though he's like, I haven't seen any real basketball skills. He loves Drake. So it's like he's always listening to Drake and will play the same songs over and over again. And it's just, yeah. So other than that, I don't know. That was kind of the funniest story just because I remember it the most. But I mean, he's a great guy. And you should definitely root for him because he's super funny.
Yeah, definitely funny to hear some behind the scenes, and I'm trying to get him on, hopefully sometime soon. But moving on, which was more of a high for you, winning the Big East Conference meet as an individual or winning the NCAA championships in cross country as a team?
That's a non-question right there. That's an obvious answer. No, nothing will top. I mean, that's like was the best, still probably that might be still like my top favorite like memory running accomplishment yet. Was our team, like I said earlier, like I was brought onto that team as a freshman, say like, we're not the best, but we can maybe be the best by the end of your time here. So here I am, a fifth year senior in cross country, and we go and we win the national championship against the Colorado team at the time. They had already won back-to-back, and they were stronger than the year before. They had like another guy come back who was redshirted. Like they were at their best. And, we came in with the upset, and yeah, I don't think anything's ever going to beat that, and just how special it was for our coaches, for the whole team. We had like the biggest group of as far as fans and spectators and family, our fans were tailgating. Like it was wild. It was just like the stars aligned, and that was a wild weekend. It was a wild couple of months after that. We were celebrating that one a long time, and we still love to talk about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. But which achievement in college as an individual would you say you are most proud of?
As an individual, so
Because you were multi-time All-American, All-ACC, that Big East championship that I mentioned earlier.
I would say it's a little known fact that my redshirt freshman year, and then my first 2 years at Syracuse, we were a Big East school, and then we switched to the ACC for my last 2.5 years. So I actually have won the Big East cross country championship individually and the ACC cross country championship individually. And I would say that's like one of my favorite like stats to like throw around as far as individual accomplishments go. Because like it's not too often, I guess, like people transfer and stuff, but there's not too many people who can say they've won, conference championships in like, big conferences. So that was pretty cool. I've won a couple like track ACC, like indoor and outdoor track titles. Trying to think, although I would say in the year we won as a team, I was 8th place in the NCAA cross country meet. So I mean, I'm sorry, not 8th. Colin was 8th. I was 9th. That, I mean, being top 10 in the country at nationals was that okay. That probably wins. Top 10 NCAA cross as an individual was a pretty special day.
Yeah, that's hard to beat. And on top of that, winning as a team just makes it so much better. So we just finished a very cold and harsh winter here in the United States. What are your thoughts on winter in Syracuse? And do you think more training groups should use it as a winter base camp?
Oh gosh. I mean, no, I don't think people should deliberately seek out places like Syracuse to train in the winter. Although I will say, like, if you do end up in a place like that, and I've lived in the Northeast, pretty much all my life. Even here I'm in Philadelphia now. The winters are definitely a lot nicer than they are in up in New York. But it still gets cold. It still snows. I do think there's a lot to be gained as far as like a mental toughness standpoint for doing a good amount of training in the cold and the snow. You see a lot of people will go, particularly amongst the professionals, will go and do their summer training camps in Florida and get out to nice places, Arizona, and which is fine. You can train well. You don't have to like worry about getting on treadmills and snowstorms and stuff. But I think there's a little bit of an edge to be gained by, freezing your tail off on runs and workouts. So while I don't recommend you spend a lot of time, I do think it's definitely worth it. It does make you a better runner in some ways.
I definitely agree. And it probably does more to your mental strength than anything, making you a mental, more tough runner. Right. But what is your favorite place or trail to run in the Syracuse area?
Ooh, that's an easy one. Green Lake State Park is this beautiful. It was our long run spot. You can get to it from we would start in a parking lot a couple miles away and run on the Erie Canal, which was dirt at the time. They've since paved this area of it, which is a bit of a bummer. But then you can get right into the Green Lake State Park, and it's this like the lakes are literally this beautiful like translucent green. It's like the prettiest spot, and it's just basically like a 5K loop around these two lakes, all dirt and like wood chips. It's beautiful. And then you can go up, there's trails up, and you can do these loops on the top fields and get in like even like another like couple mile loops. So it's that's such a beautiful place to run. It's really pretty, all trails, highly recommend. Particularly in the fall when the trees are changing colors. It's like the prettiest place.
Wow, that sounds awesome. And if I'm ever in the Syracuse area for some reason, I'll check it out.
If you ever make it up there, that's a spot.
So moving on to your professional career, you're currently running for Reebok Boston, but originally you were with NAZ Elite for a little bit. What was your first contract like, and how did it feel to become a sponsored runner?
Yeah. So coming out of college, I did my 5th year at Syracuse, and that was in 2016. So I was also trying to qualify for the Olympic trials at that time. And I think at that point I had always been planning on going to medical school and like applying, and, but at the same time, I really, I started to really start thinking, man, it would be cool to give running a shot. So, ultimately I deferred medical school a year and was sending out emails to some coaches, and not too many coaches though. There's only a couple groups that I knew. I knew I was going to be like a road runner, and I knew I was going to be better at the longer distances, like get me in those 10 miles and half marathons. And then, there's really only a couple professional groups that's their bread and butter. And NAZ Elite was obviously one of them. So I shot Coach Ben Rosario an email, and he was like super receptive. And this was not too long before the trials, and they were going to be out there. And of course, I have like a crazy Olympic trials 2016 story, like where I was trying to qualify. I was like, I just missed the cutoff with my time, so I didn't make it. And then 2 days before the race, they called and let like a few more people in. So I like flew out the day before, like from, East Coast to West Coast, and like it was a whirlwind. But then there I got to meet and the NAZ team and Coach Ben. We got to talk. And very soon after that, I took like a little recruiting trip out to Flagstaff to like really get an even better feel. I went to practice, got to run on a bunch of the trails, meet everyone on the team. And it was a pretty that was like everything I wanted to try. I wanted to get out to altitude. I wanted to be professional. I wanted to be on this team surrounded by other professionals. That was like the dream. So I definitely wanted to go for it, and I absolutely did. So I drove across the country, moved out there for a year. I deferred, I think I said this already, but I deferred medical school a year. So that kind of gave me a year to like figure things out. Right. But it was a great year. Flagstaff it truly is a beautiful place to live and train and run. So it's definitely a fun place to be. And yeah, then it was a great year. I learned a lot, and I can keep going. Ultimately, at the end of the year, I decided I still wanted to go to medical school. So I still ended up going back east after my year, and attending school here in Philadelphia. But I obviously didn't stop running either. So
yeah. And you just answered my next question, which was what made you decide to leave NAZ Elite? And it sounds like it was just because of med school.
Yeah. Well, like I love the team. I love the coach. The training was definitely different than what I was used to under Coach Fox at Syracuse. I think it worked. It's just like, I probably wasn't there long enough to fully get the full benefit, but ultimately, yeah, it was mainly like I wanted to go to school. I didn't want to, it would have been really hard to pass on this spot and have to go through the whole process again, as far as like the MCAT and applying and such. So yeah, that was the reason.
And now you are with Reebok Boston Track Club, and you're coached by Chris Fox, your former college coach, and you have a couple teammates that you had in college like Colin, Bennie, and Justyn Knight. So what's it like to be around these familiar faces?
Awesome. It was super. It was like the stars aligned when I finished I finished my year with NAZ Elite. So I like texted Coach Fox at the end of that year. I said, hey, like, I'd love to, if you would train me again. Like, I'm going to be in Philly. I'm going to be in school, but I want to keep running. And he said, well, I'm working on something, so let me get back to you, but I'm definitely going to train you. I said, okay. And really not too long after, the Reebok team was formed, with Coach Fox at the helm. And obviously he brought on a couple of his star pupils in Justyn and Colin. And, and now the group has obviously athletes from all over the country. And it's awesome. So I spend most of my time in Philly. I'm kind of like an ancillary member because they were, Reebok and Coach Fox are very cool with me being here, obviously, like finishing school. But I've gotten down there for basically training camps before my last couple marathons, and for a few weeks here and there, I get down there when I can. And it's awesome. I mean, it's like it's very like, it's super cool, right? I mean, these are my best friends. I lived and trained with them for years. Like, so it just feels like just going back home. Right. So they're like amazing runners. So it's super fun to get, I pride myself. I do a lot of my training on my own. I grind it out early in the morning, but it's still so nice to get to train with like a group of guys and girls, and especially when they're some of your best friends who you've known a very long time.
Yeah, that definitely sounds awesome, just to be able to continue training under the coach that gave you so much in college, and getting to be around your teammates more, because a lot of times you leave college and you don't really talk to your college teammates as much as maybe you wish. But talking about Reebok, you probably can't say anything bad about these shoes, but what is your opinion about the Reebok Zigtech, and have you ever run in them? And I can screen share. I have a picture pulled up. I'll screen share if you haven't seen it.
I mean, they don't sound like, are they running shoes?
They look like this.
Oh gosh. Are those still like a thing?
I don't know. You see, I was telling one of my friends about how I was interviewing you and you're sponsored by Reebok. And he said, oh, you should ask him about the Reebok Zigtechs. And I'd never heard of them.
I feel like those were something that like came out years ago, because I do kind of remember even seeing like commercials for that. Like those are like older shoes, I think. I've never put on a pair of Zigtechs. I wear their new shoes that are nice. This is a good time to plug. Like the Reebok running shoes are great. Like I run in the Energy and the Symmetro like every day. They're great shoes. The Zigtech, those might be something like rappers or something be like rapping about in their songs, putting on, but those are not built for function. Those are more for style, I guess.
And speaking of Reebok shoes, hold on 1 second.
Oh, what are you rocking right now?
I just purchased these Float Ride RunFasts. These are
oh man, you feel that, right? It's like you don't even know if you're holding the shoe.
Yeah, it's so lightweight. I've never run in a Reebok shoe until just like a couple of weeks ago, but I must say they are very good, and I was definitely impressed. Reebok is up and coming, and I think I'm really excited to see what you guys do pretty soon.
Yeah, no, I mean, those shoes are sweet. Like when I first, like those, I was doing all my road races in those. I was like, these are unbelievable. It's like you're not even wearing shoes, but they still got enough cushion on there. They got that good foam. We've got a lot of stuff. Kind of as I was hinting at you, hinting when I was talking to you earlier before the call, like I was just on a call with some of the Reebok shoe product team, kind of talking about some of our like the shoes coming down the pipeline, like the new Float Ride Energies, the new Symmetros. The new kind of like, we're still working on our carbon plate shoes. Everything's looking good. It's fun. It's very fun.
And I like these especially because I was able to get them at a fairly low price compared to a lot of the other shoes out there.
Yeah, I want to say though, do they still retail for $250?
Which shoes?
What?
Which shoes?
Which ones are you talking about?
So this is the Float Ride RunFast ones.
Oh,
so
those are the RunFast. I'm sorry. I thought those were the RunFast Pros.
Yeah, the Pros are like 3 ounces, I think. Yes. Those are really light.
Sorry, I got mixed up. Those are like the racing flats that are like so light. The RunFast, also great shoes, but like, you can run in them and not like, obviously when you race in flats and run in flats, like you're going to be sore, but no, the RunFasts are awesome because they're super light, but still like an actual running shoe.
And I think the shoe you were just talking about, the $250 one, yeah. I did see a shoe on Reebok's website that was that price, but since these are the first iteration, and I believe there are 3 RunFasts out there, these were only like $50, which was cool, and got to experience what it's like to run in Reebok. And I think I'll definitely be continuing to run in them in the future.
gotta try the Flow Ride Energy. I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed.
I'll check it out after this interview. But moving on, about a year ago, it's crazy that it was a year ago, you got 6th at the U.S. Olympic Marathon Trials. What were your thoughts on the court? So this is a multi-question question. What were your thoughts on the course in Atlanta, and how did you alter your training to prepare for the trials race course? And then I'll ask a couple of follow-up questions.
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone knew this course was hyped up from like as soon as it was announced, like a long time before the race, that it was going to be hilly, right? It was going to be a grinder, way hillier than like any normal course any professionals usually run. So everyone like was taking the training for that very seriously, and we were no different. So this was one of those times I like worked my schedule around with school, and I found a 7-week block leading up to the trials, where I could get down to Charlottesville to train with Colin and Tim Young. And down there, so Charlottesville, I don't know, I mean, you may or may not know, Charlottesville is like one of the hilliest places ever. It's like too hilly at times. There are some like nicer runs you can go drive to that aren't hilly, but it was like the perfect place to like train for and prepare for like a hilly marathon course. So we just did a ton of our like long runs and workouts. Like there was always hills in everything we did. Like we really just didn't give ourselves a choice. And which was like great training and like really just kind of hardened you to those ups and downs and what was inevitably going to happen in the race. So that was like a big part of our preparation and kind of how we, the actual training itself didn't really change much. It was just like, we're just going to make sure everything we do is over a lot of hills. And I would say it definitely worked for us.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. And a lot of people were complaining that the course was too hilly and it should be moved to something flatter, but I think it all worked out in the end. But 6th place at the trials, was this a surprise for you? And what was the plan going into the race?
It wasn't a surprise. I was definitely someone like, I had run one marathon before. That was just to qualify a year and change prior. And I knew, that was a 2:13, and I knew I could run a lot faster. And then like the training for this went so much better. And yeah, no, like, I knew that, I know a lot of my competitors, I know the guys in the race, and I know I'm just as good as them. So really, I truly was thinking like, I'm good enough to beat the Scott Faubles and the Jared Wards. And those are the guys who are the favorites to make the team. So with that mentality, like I thought, yeah, I'm trying to make it an Olympic team here. So I very much wanted to be top 10. And if you're going to be top 10, you're just going to aim for top 3. So that was really the mindset and the goal from, 3 or 4 months out from the race. And then, that just went on the back burner, and then it was all about training. And then, on the actual day, it was just one of those things where everyone thought, you can go and run a 2:12 marathon and that's going to make the team. Lo and behold, you needed to almost run 2:09. Those guys ran 2:09, I think 2:10 flat. So I was close. I ran 2:11. I ran a big PR on a really hard course. And it was one of those things where I was, it was bittersweet. I was super pumped that I ran fast. I got really the most out of myself I could have gotten on that day. So it was, sweet from that standpoint, but bitter because, I was close to making that team, just not quite there.
So a couple months ago, I interviewed Jake Riley, and he gave his opinion on the NBC commentators and the coverage of the marathon trials. He said something about how we don't need to know what Galen Rupp had for breakfast 2 weeks ago. There are so many other people in this race that have been putting in good training, and they didn't even mention them. So what was your opinion on the NBC commentators?
I'll be honest. I was in the race. I don't think I watched the race again, like after the fact. So I don't know. I can't really tell you. I do remember hearing they focused, they didn't give a fair amount of coverage to the woman, and particularly Alafine, who was like an awesome story and an awesome person, and obviously made the team. But yeah, I more just kind of heard about the coverage after the fact. I'll be honest, I didn't actually like go back and listen. But what Jake said I know is going to be true. Like it's a kind of like a problem with the commentary and like coverage of the sport is there's not enough like background work done to actually like talk to these athletes ahead of time, see what they're up to, see what they're doing, or just like, going and doing a little research and like looking at everyone in the race. Like everyone has really cool, unique stories. That would be great, like really interesting for people watching to hear about. And it just seems like more often than not, the commentators don't really do that sort of background work, and they'll just talk about the same people and the same things, whatever Galen Rupp is up to.
And I think maybe the next Olympic marathon trials, if they find out that you are in med school and becoming a doctor, they'll have a heartfelt segment talking about your story.
Well, I don't need that, but yeah, sure. That would be cool. We'll tell everyone's stories.
Fast forward a few months to December, I think it was, where you ran the marathon project and you ran 2:08:59, another huge PR. Could you briefly walk us through this race and your reactions to becoming the 7th fastest U.S. marathoner of all time?
Man, that was another special day. That's definitely up there with like top 3 best days. It was, like the race was pegged to be this sub 210 attempt for like, try to get as many Americans as we can under sub 210, even though it was paced for 2:09 flat. But I think for, Colin and I had done a ton of training together out, down in Charlottesville leading up to this. And we thought, we on the right day, this is the right course. Like we think we can break 210. So let's go and do that. Lo and behold, we get out there and like, we come through the halfway point on 2:09 flat pace. And I was able just to keep on going. So crossing that finish line, getting to the finish line first, just squeaking under that 2:09. I was in total disbelief. Like it was, at first I didn't know where that put me on the all-time list, but yeah, kind of like when it all hit me, in those next kind of like minutes and hours, like it was, super, I would say the word was just like fulfilling and like gratifying that I finally I knew I was, one of the top guys in the country. I just, I'm always the guy 6th at the trials, someone who's finishing like 2nd or 3rd in US championships. Like, I'm never the guy there winning. Right. So it was really special to like win a big one, put up a big time, get on the all-time list. Like that's super special. Like, for me, like getting on a list like that is something that means a lot to me. And yeah, like it's like kind of, it's hard to express, but it was really cool, really special. And I really still wish I could go back and relive the day.
Was there one workout that you did leading up to the race that made you confident, or at least plant a seed in your head that you were fit and ready to run high 2:08?
I would say we actually did almost the same build up as far as workouts go and mileage that we did for this marathon project as we did for the Olympic trials build up. And I would say there wasn't really any one workout. Like we did some of like our few big workouts, we did a touch faster, like we did them better. But I would say besides running them a little faster, they just felt so much easier. Like a lot of our stuff was like maybe like a big 10-mile tempo within a 20-mile long run or something. So these long grinding sessions. And I remember doing them before the trials and like, I was like spent after them. But this time around, leading up to the marathon project, I got through these same workouts running a little faster and like feeling easier doing it. And that's really like, so the confidence just kept building throughout that 3-month build up. I was like, man, like these are coming a little easier. That means I'm in better shape than I was when I ran 2:11:29 on a really hard course. So it's going to be, I knew I was in shape to like do something special on a flat, fast course.
And what's next now that you missed out this time around on the Olympics for the marathon? Are you trying to qualify in the 10K, or do you think that is out of reach?
Never out of reach. Come on. So the 10K is the new goal. I did get 7th at the Olympic trials in 2016 in the 10K. So that was like fresh out of college. That time I told you when I barely got in the day before, I flew in the day before and had a pretty good day. So yeah, I haven't raced on the track actually in a couple of years, but I'm very excited. And I think I've got a lot more to give as far as like 5K and 10K PRs go. So, I'm going to start, I'm actually racing the US 15K championships, which is the Gate River Run down in Jacksonville, next weekend. And then after that, it's going to be dialing it in for, there's going to be it looks like there's a lot of like kind of fast 10Ks that'll be lined up over the next like couple months. So really just kind of picking one that makes sense and, trying to come as close to that Olympic standard as I can. But obviously like getting the Olympic trials qualifying standard would be goal. And then, getting to the Olympic trials in June and taking my shot again.
Yeah, I just saw today, I think you posted something on Instagram saying that you would be running at that race next week. So it'll be interesting to watch that. So best of luck for that. And now I want to move on to the behind the scenes, I guess. Well, not behind the scenes, but the other side of Marty Hehir, the doctor med school side.
Mm-hmm.
So you are studying anesthesiology. How did you select that route?
So just for clarity's sake, so everyone, you do 4 years of medical school, right? And it's like the same for all specialties. Like you haven't really done a specialty yet. You kind of rotate and do everything and you learn everything. And then in your 4th year, which I'm just about to finish now, is when you pick your specialty and you apply to a bunch of programs in that specialty to then do your training to become that specialist. So I actually find out next week, that, where I'm going to be going and training to become an anesthesiologist. So it'll be a 4-year program. And then I will officially be like in my anesthesia training. So that's next week. That'll be exciting. And then that'll start in the summer. But why anesthesia? That's actually a great question. You, like I said, you rotate through everything: pediatrics, family medicine, neurology, surgery, OB-GYN. And I liked it all, but anesthesia is really cool. And I think people take for granted, like, oh, I'm going to go get a surgery or like a colonoscopy or something. And like, you get some drugs and someone puts you to sleep and then you wake back up, right? Like, that's what everyone says. But like, what people don't realize is like, if you're in the operating room and you're going to sleep, like you're basically getting enough drugs that you would be dead if it wasn't for like, a tube getting put, a breathing tube, and the anesthesiologist, like right there at the head of the bed, working the machine, working the anesthetics and, keeping you alive per se. So there's actually a lot more that goes into putting someone to sleep than you would imagine. And it's, a lot of like, a lot of drugs and medications that were given, a lot of putting in, IVs and breathing tubes and special like arterial lines. And it's just like, so it's a really cool job that like everything you do is happening right there in the OR. I'm given a drug to raise your blood pressure and I see that blood pressure go up as I'm monitoring it. Like it's very much an instant gratification kind of job. And you're in the operating room. You see a lot of cool stuff. You get to meet people when they're nervous and take care of them. So yeah, it's just, it's kind of hard to summarize quickly, but that's, I really just enjoyed the whole specialty and kind of what it's all about, and the types of people who I have interacted with within it.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was so much going on in anesthesiology. I just assumed somebody was, giving you a drug that would make you fall asleep. But
Yeah,
it sounds like
sleep and you stop breathing. That's what they don't tell you.
So we all learned something today from that right there. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you find out like next week where you will be going. Do you have any idea or programs that you're hoping that you get into?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So like I interviewed at a bunch of places and then you submit a rank list, like a preference list. But then there's this big complicated algorithm that happens, and the programs also submit rank lists of like the students they want. So it's called matching. So they just match you kind of at the top program that also wanted you, right? So it's a weird kind of complicated system, but you just find out on one day. They send you an email where you matched. So I'll tell you, you get the first scoop. I ranked University of Virginia, number 1, Yale, the Yale anesthesia program, number 2, University of Pittsburgh, number 3. And then it kind of goes down. Like I got 10 plus programs on there, but like Stony Brook, Hofstra, I think Penn State. So yeah, so it's kind of like that's where I'd like to go. That's my order, but ultimately I'll find out next Friday, and I'll just get an email and it'll say, this is where you're going to be for the next 4 years. So pretty exciting.
Wow. That just seems too stressful for me, that you just have to, you have no idea. You don't really have full control over where you're going. Wow.
It is a little anxiety inducing. But I mean, at the same time, it's kind of like a rite of passage as a 4th year medical student. So.
And before the marathon project, it was reported that you were directly treating COVID patients. So, like, could you describe what you were doing? And were you in the ICU, or was it just like more? I mean, I don't really know how it works. So, could you describe what you were doing?
It was more of like a coincidental timing thing where I told you I had some time off to train before the marathon project, but then my last 2 weeks before the race was my ICU rotation that I needed to do. So yes, I was in the ICU, and like the ICU was mainly full of COVID patients at that time back in December. As a student, I mean, I was taking care of patients. Like we try to minimize the number of people obviously going in and out of these rooms that are closed off. Like they're all like see-through, like glass and stuff. So you can see in, you can see their like settings on their ventilators. And I mean, there's not much, they're all intubated. They're all kind of under sedation. So there's not much you need to do within the room. So, I was taking care of these patients per se, just not really going into the rooms, just kind of managing their settings, seeing their vital signs, and, help. As a student, you're mainly there to learn. You want to learn how the medicine in the ICU is done. But yeah, I mean, I was an ancillary member of the team taking care of these patients, which was, it was intense from the standpoint of really seeing like kind of the end result of where this disease can go. And it was just, it was a sad place to be, but very eye-opening. And, I felt special that I got to be there and do what I could to help out.
Yeah, and we're very appreciative of people like you that put yourself out there. And it's a shame that it's gotten this bad, but hopefully things can start improving soon.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And you just got the vaccine, which is exciting.
Yeah, it's it's pretty cool. Like I've all the students in my class in the 3rd year class who are seeing patients, we're all vaccinated now. And I think that's a pretty common theme amongst a lot of medical schools. And, a lot of my family are nurses or in the medical field. So like my sisters are vaccinated, my parents are, my wife is, my wife's parents. So it's, I think this vaccine is giving a lot of people hope, and all the vaccines now. So I do think there's going to be a pretty nice shift by the end of the summer, and we're going to, be in a much better place.
That's great. And currently you're in med school, like we mentioned earlier. How soon will we be able to call you Dr. Hehir?
So that's a great question. I'm not really sure what I should count because I told you I find out on Friday, next Friday, March 19th, what program accepted me to be, to train me to become an anesthesiologist. So at that point, like my job as a doctor I've been accepted. So you can almost argue, that is the time, March 19th, but my official graduation is May 25th. So that's probably the official time I can say, okay, I graduated. I'm officially an MD. So yeah, you can let the people decide when they want to call me a doctor.
What type of doctor would you say is equivalent to a sub 4 mile?
What kind of doctor? Oh gosh, that's an interesting question. I would think like sub 4 mile, you gotta be like, are you saying like if I was to pick like, specialty, like which doctors are like in the best shape, or like just kind of the essence of the specialty itself?
The specialty itself.
Oh man.
So like which one is the most difficult job, I guess?
Okay. So if you're going that route, I would probably say if you're going like just the hardest route, I would say to become a neurosurgeon. That's a 7-year residency program. It's a grind. Those guys work like more than 80 hours a week. Let's be honest. They're not following the rules. So yeah, those guys are grinding. They're kind of crazy. They're super smart. So they are, if someone's going to break forward, it's going to be them, the neurosurgeons.
So another running / doctor question. Is there a correlation between being a great runner and being a doctor or in med school? My boy, Roger Bannister right over here was in med school, and same with Bob Kemperman, who was a marathoner.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
There's definitely, I would say, a lot of the kind of like characteristics and personality traits that make you a good doctor are like also would make you a good runner. And I mean that like a lot of doctors are very like type A, super hardworking, like super detail oriented. Like, I mean, all my classmates, everyone I've interacted with, like these are some very high functioning people who just like, don't really settle for anything than the best. And I think that's the kind of mentality you need as a runner, right? You need to just work hard. You need to just not cut corners, and you need to just put in that grind each and every day. And like getting through medical school and like training in medicine, it's like 4 years of medical school, 3 to 7 years of residency. And then you're finally like a fully board certified, yada, yada, yada. Like it's a long grind, delayed gratification to become a doctor. And I think running is very tangential in that, like, you got to put in that hard work and consistency and grind for a long time before those results come. So I would say there's a good amount of overlap. And another one, Tony Sandoval, he was a little older than Bob Kemperman, was another doctor. And I think he was an Olympic marathoner, if I'm not mistaken, just to add to your list there.
I know you probably get asked this question all the time, but how do you do it balancing med school? You're also a father to 2 and an elite runner. And have you submitted your wife for sainthood?
Oh man. Gosh, do they have, my wife is Jewish. Do they have, this is a dumb question I feel bad even asking. Are there saints in Judaism?
I feel bad because I don't know.
I don't know the answer. I failed my social studies class. I'll have to ask her. She's downstairs. I'll ask her after. But no, she is like, she's amazing. I mean, she's a full-time, well, she hasn't been working since kind of the pandemic started, but she's a nurse practitioner and she works full-time. We have like our 2 beautiful girls who are a lot. I mean, even like when we're both home, it's like a lot taking care of them. So yeah, my wife, she puts the team on her back a lot. I try to, balance it out and give back in all sorts of ways. But I would say the best way, I mean, doing it all, it's all about like not wasting time, and just so like in that sense being efficient. And that's really it. Like it's like a time management thing. You got X amount of hours in a day. Like you really have to think like this, but it's a good way to like talk about it. It's like, okay, I've got to run for an hour this morning. I'm going to be at work for like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 10 hours. I mean, my last month was 12 hours a day. I was at work, which kind of sucked. So you just kind of like know what your day and week is going to look like. And you just kind of preemptively think about, all right, this is where I'm going to get my runs in, my workouts in. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to be like, oh, today was a rough day. Like, I feel like garbage. I'm going to do the workout tomorrow. Or I do a lot of stuff early in the morning. That way, you're not at the mercy of like how your day goes. You just, boom, you wake up. Like this morning, I was up at 5, drank a little coffee and went and banged out my workout before having to go to the hospital. So it was, and you don't need to worry about anything because it's all done. So it's just, really not wasting time. I think people don't realize, how much time we waste. Just like you get home, you sit on the couch for 30 minutes scrolling through your phone, or just like, I don't know. There's a lot of time I think people can find if they care enough to find it. So.
My dad has this theory that doctors are driven by a need to stay busy. Do you agree with this? It kind of sounds like you said something about it earlier, but I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
I would say that's a very common personality trait, and kind of goes with being like type A. You see a lot. I would say I'm way more on the laid back end of the spectrum, I would say, for the average person in my class or that I interact with. But yeah, we like to be busy. Like we like to be doing something. There's nothing work. Like, yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. Like we like to get stuff done, and we like feeling useful, and we like not wasting time. It kind of goes back to not wasting time, right? It's like, well, I'm not going to sit here and do nothing for multiple hours, but so yeah, particularly when you're working, when you have stuff to do, always want to be doing it. I mean, I totally agree with your pops there. But I will say, like, I can very easily, if I got nothing to do, I just crushed 3 seasons of Cobra Kai actually in the last couple weeks. Really good show. Really enjoyed it. Because I had time. I had some time. So yeah. So moral of the story is, you still got to be able to chill. So I can do that too.
That's another thing. My dad's really trying to get me to watch Cobra Kai.
Oh, because your dad grew up probably in the Karate Kid era.
Yep.
Like, I'm old, but I'm not that old, right? I'm 28. So it's like Karate Kid is still an old movie, even for me. But like, I've seen Karate Kid. So like my dad watched this show and he loved it because it's like, oh, like they have the flashbacks to like the show, and it's all the same characters. So I can see why it's really cool for like our parents' generation. But it actually was pretty good. And the karate fight scenes were actually sneaky, like intense. Like I was like kind of like gripping my bit, like the couch. I was like, dang, someone's going to get hurt. So yeah, it was good.
I'll have to check that out though. But another question I have is, what's going to happen once you begin your residency with respect to running?
That is a fantastic question. That's the question I get a lot. It's like, well, are you going to be able to run when your anesthesia program starts? Because it's pretty well known that when you start as a resident, you work a lot. Like the time demands really bump up. And right now, I kind of going to take it how I've always taken it, which is I'm going to see what I can do. And it's kind of similar, and like there's always rotations. Like every month, every 3 to 4 weeks, like things are changing, your schedule changes, you're on a different rotation, the hours are different. So just going to take, I'm going to train as hard as I can, and I'm not going to make myself crazy, but I still think, I don't know. I mean, I can't really answer it because I'm going to see what I can do. I don't know yet. And I think what's going to end up happening is I'm going to have, a couple good months of like where I'm going to get some good stretches of training, and other months where it's like I'm working 12 plus hours, 6 days a week, where it's just like, all right, let's just get some, let's just maintain, go for some easy runs, get 30 or 40 miles a week in, and make it to my next easy block so I can go get some good workouts in again. So it's going to be a little more ebb and flow, and kind of goes with that flexibility thing. But when push comes to shove, I'm still going to get in shape, and you're going to see me on some start lines.
I really look forward to that. And just a couple more medical related questions. Mm-hmm. How often do friends, family, and training partners try to weasel free medical advice from you?
Oh man, I'm not even a doctor yet, and I get texts, I get pictures. What's this weird rash on my armpit? This bump I got on my finger. Those are 2 in the last probably month. Yeah, I do get it. It's kind of funny. It'll be really funny when I'm at the end of my anesthesia program, because when you're a specialist, you're really good. I'll know everything there is about putting someone to sleep, but I'm not going to remember my dermatology lecture on what this mole is so people don't realize when you ask specialized doctors random questions, they don't remember any of that. But yeah, people love asking, and I answer, to the best of my ability. And then I say, but you should probably ask your actual doctor. That's always my liability statement.
Similarly, when you meet new people, do they just give you a list of their symptoms when you tell them you will soon become a doctor?
No, fortunately, people have not been that. People are not that desperate for medical advice. So no, I haven't had that happen yet.
And last medical related question. If you were tasked with fixing the U.S. healthcare system, what would be the first change you would make on day one?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. It would be something along the lines of making sure everyone had healthcare, in that everyone could go and have a primary care doctor and not have to worry about paying thousands of dollars for a monthly insurance premium. So just making healthcare affordable so that everyone could have access to it, because that's super important, I think.
I agree. And it shouldn't be this controversial, but for some reason it is.
You're telling me.
Okay. And now, this is the segment where I ask rapid fire questions. It's called the Bell Lap. Most of these are not related to running, but a couple are, and they are a little more fun.
All right, shoot, fire away.
What song is your go-to hype song before a race or workout?
Oh gosh. This is, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I'm failing the rapid fire. Cause I usually just put on Pandora, which is just gives you random songs, right? I like Rise Against, so I would pick Prayer of the Refugee, Rise Against. It's a good one.
And you are teammates with a different Canadian, Ben Flanagan, who runs the 10K. So my question is, in a regulation boxing match, could you beat him in a fight?
Ben Flanagan? He's 5'0". I would crush him. And I'm gonna have to tell him that I said that on here, but I don't know. He does hit the gym a little harder than I do, so it would be close. But I just got way too much weight on him. So
Yeah, I didn't really do enough research. I didn't realize he was that short. I knew he was short, but I didn't realize he was that short. But
I think just because I'm just too much bigger. He wouldn't be able to get me.
I was going to ask with Justyn Knight, but he's more of a mid-distance guy and seems like he's a bit stronger than the marathoner. So I feel like I'd put my money on Justyn.
Justin's super scrawny. I mean, we're all scrawny, but Justin's really scrawny. All right. Next question. Before I get myself in trouble.
Have you ever been in a situation on an airplane where somebody asks, "Is there a doctor on board?"
No. Oh my gosh, no. Thank God.
Is that like one of your biggest fears that happens?
That would be anxiety inducing, yeah. Because then you have to decide, like, dang, do I guess I would have to look around and assess what the situation was, like if it was something I can actually help with or not. But yeah, that would be tough.
So if all the major health insurance companies or pharmaceutical companies like United Health or Humana approached you to sponsor your running, which company would you want to sign with? And ignoring obvious conflicts of interest.
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any real I don't know enough about these different companies. I would say I'd pick Pfizer because I don't know, I got their COVID vaccine and it worked pretty well. So I'll be on their team.
Should academics who are not in the medical community but have a PhD get to be called doctor?
I have no problem. I think they earn the right to be called the doctor, 100%. I just think it's more society's fault that there's like an association with like doctor being medical doctor. Like it's almost like I wish they picked, when they were picking these, PhD degrees and such, like I wish they just picked a different term for it, right? Like let's call them some other cool name that like shows that they have this prestigious degree instead of creating this confusion. But no, they're absolutely doctors and I'm totally down with that.
So another question is, do you caffeinate before a race?
Yes, sir. You know what? It took me until towards the end of college before I really figured out that I didn't like coffee. But yeah, I'm team caffeine.
So after scrolling through your Instagram account and going back to some of the old posts, because, everybody knows that the first few posts that somebody posts on Instagram are always the best. I found many photos of waffles and pancakes. So what is your favorite syrup delivery device? The big three are pancakes, waffles, and French toast.
Oh, well then you didn't look, okay, you're right. I did have a waffle post like at one point, but no, I'm a pancake guy. I had like a pseudo sponsorship with Kodiak cakes for a while. It's kind of tinkered away, but literally, it's funny that you say this because I literally posted a pancake on my Instagram story this morning. So it's always going to be a chocolate chip banana pancake. Waffles are okay. French toast is okay. But my heart, the heart wants what the heart wants. And it's a fat stack of hot cakes.
Have you figured out the ideal chocolate to pancake ratio yet?
Oh, I mean, it's as much chocolate chips as like you feel like you can put in without feeling bad about it. Like where you turned it into like chocolate chip with your pancake. So if you just want to toe that line to make it as chocolatey as possible without feeling, making yourself feel too bad.
So this one you can go into a little more detail with, but if you were reliving the same day over and over again, like in the movie Groundhog Day, what would you do?
Oh man, it would have to be like a good day, right? So what would I do if I had to do it over and over again? I mean, it would definitely be I mean, really like honestly, just throw me on like, so I love vacations because I feel like I don't do them enough, but I'm a big cruise guy. So just throw me on a cruise ship and I will live that day every day forever and I'll be happy. The food, the entertainment, the drinks, yeah, just throw me on a cruise ship preferably with like my family, but if I get to pick.
And last question. Okay, Marty, this one is very important. This could change people's opinion about you forever. Are you ready?
I'm ready. This is it.
What is your favorite item from Taco Bell?
Wow. You know what's amazing is I can't even really answer this question because I think the last time I went to Taco Bell was probably like, honestly, 15 years ago. No, maybe like in high school. So maybe like 13 years ago. So I know they have all these crazy name things like chalupas and quesadilupes. I don't know. They have crazy stuff. I'm a Wendy's guy. So I'm going to get the spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's like 10 out of 10 times. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that answer right there might shift some opinions of me, but not a Taco Bell man.
Dang, that's a shame.
Here's the thing. I'm technically Hispanic. My mom is half Mexican. So, I get that real stuff. I hit up my hole in the walls. I get my authentic Mexican food. I don't mess around with that Taco Bell.
Well, maybe that will change people's opinions a little bit. But so far, I've been asking that question as my last question on these interviews. And so far, I haven't had too many good responses. Most people just, they don't really eat Taco Bell very much.
You kind of, yeah, I feel like we got to, yeah, it's a tough one. If you went like McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King or something, you'd probably get a few more hot takes. But Taco Bell is definitely like, it's not for everyone.
Well, Marty, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad we got to have this conversation.
Hey, this was great. This was great. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Live life to the max, run to the max. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.